invite Sister Widad up from the Women's Committee who has an announcement to make.
أول شيء بنرحب في ضيفاتنا ونرحب فيكم جميعا باسم الومن كوميونيتي اوف باك اللي هي تابعة للمركز الجالية الفلسطينية باك. بنرحب فيكم جميعكم. بنحب احنا يعني جميعا يعني مبسوطين ان شفنا كل هالوجوه هاي في هذا اليوم، وبنحب ان شاء الله في المستقبل نشوف وجوه اخرى وكمان نكون اكثر من هيك كمان في هيك مناسبات. الومن كوميونتي تأسست من فترة قصيرة بس لها إنجازات ما شاء الله رائعة. وومن كوميونتي ما لهش 3 سنين لسه، هو يعني جمعية نسائية فلسطينية هدفها ربط المرأة الفلسطينية في أمريكا في نيوجيرسي في المرأة الفلسطينية اللي في فلسطين. فمن باب هذا الشيء احنا عملنا عدة نشاطات، الحمد لله كانت هاي النشاطات كلها ناجحة الحمد لله. من ضمن هاي النشاطات كان عندنا انه في دعم لطالبات فلسطينيات في غزة. هذا البرنامج اللي هو دفع اقساط لطالبات متفوقات في غزة ما كان عندهم القدرة انهم يروحوا على الجامعات، فالحمد لله الومن كوميتي قامت في نشاط في عدة أنشطة وحفلات قامت انها لمت لهم دعم وبعدت لهم اقساط الجامعات. الحمد لله الصبايا وصلنا اخبارهم ناجحات متفوقات وحفلات. في عندنا مشاريع أخرى كانت اللي هي مشروع الحقيبة المدرسية، برضه كان الحمد لله مشروع ناجح جدا، اللي هو كان هذا هدفه إنه نوصل 1500 حقيبة مدرسية بلوازمها المدرسية لأطفال في غزة برضه، والحمد لله برضه هذا المشروع كان كثير ناجح وبنقول أدخل الفرحة على قلوب كثير أطفال يمكن ما كان من مقدرتهم إنهم يوصلوا لهاي الأشياء أو يحصلوا عليها. فالحمد لله يعني إحنا بدنا كمان دعم أكثر من الناس أكثر، بدنا كمان ناس أكثر يكونوا معنا. الومن كوميتي حابين ينضم إلنا أكثر، اللي بتعرف أي حدا من الصبايا توصلوا لجميع اللي بتعرفوهم إنه ينضموا إلنا. في عندنا برنامج ثابت اللي هو في نهاية الشهر دائما في آخر 2 من الشهر عندنا البرنامج الومن برانش اللي هو بيكون الظهر يعني وقت أولادكم بالمدارس. فهذا كثير يعني حلو لأنه البرنامج هذا بيجمعنا إحنا كنساء سيدات بنناقش أشياء بتخصنا إحنا كفلسطينيات وفي حياتنا هون وفي حياتنا في فلسطين. فيا ريت يعني كمان برضه دعوة للجميع إنه ينضم لهذا اليوم إنه ييجوا ويشاركونا بهذا النشاط. طبعا احنا في عندنا انشطه اخرى ان شاء الله بنخطط لها لقدام شويه للامام ان شاء الله، فبنرحب في الجميع اولا وبدنا اياكم دائما تكونوا معنا واهلا وسهلا فيكم الجميع.
So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sara Abdelhadi and I have the honor of moderating what I'm sure will be an excellent discussion led by our wonderful panelists and community leaders. When I received their bios, I was in awe by their incredible profiles. Not that it's surprising to see that women are successful in the workforce, but despite this stigma that still exists against Middle Eastern women as being oppressed or subjected to economic rule, Arab American women continuously strive at changing this perception, hence the theme of today's panel, Breaking Barriers. Before I start by introducing each panelist, I'd like to remind you all why we put this event together. PACC serves to embrace and maintain our heritage and culture amidst the constant backlashes of our society. When we think of the Palestinian occupation, we think of border control, unfair treatment, and political threats. We often forget the positives that still take place despite these cruel living conditions. Women in Palestine thrive to create opportunity for themselves, whether it's by attaining a college degree and working in the public sector, or by embracing the artistry talents at home. They provide for themselves and manage to bring down any blockade for success. For this, we need to commend them for their courage and everlasting determination. To bridge that legacy with the Palestinian American women, making things happen here is just as important. The struggles and limitations that still occur nowadays serve to hinder our effectiveness, not only at a professional level, but also as a personal impact on our well-being. However, even though the restrictions work to prevent us from flourishing, we don't allow for them to take over. While these lovely ladies talk about the societal expectations and objections, think about how privileged we are in comparison with our women peers back home and how important it is to stabilize our gender roles within our culture and within our community at large. So let's start with introducing each panelist. First we have Dalal Kanaan. Dalal Kanaan Dilal Kanaan is a mother of 3 and a professor of natural sciences at Fordham University. She was born and raised in North Bergen, New Jersey. Her parents hail from Burqa, Ramallah, where she spent many summers growing up. Dilal attended Ghazali High School class of 03, then NYU as a graduate of class of 07. Dilal went to receive her PhD in chemistry from Princeton University in 2013. Her research specializes in computational studies of materials for renewable energy applications. She recently completed a research position at Columbia University in 2015 and is currently teaching physics at Fordham University. In her spare time, Dilal has also served her local communities in a number of capacities. She currently serves as the acting VP of Human Resources at ICPC. Previously, she was the managing editor for the Muslim parents blog called Grow Mama from 2010 to 2015. Dilal is especially passionate about supporting underrepresented groups in science, keeping up with current events, and reconnecting with her Palestinian roots through gardening. Welcome. Next we have Joman and Natsha. Dr. Natsha is a neuroscience PhD candidate at Rutgers University and a post-MD researcher at the Palestinian Neuroscience Initiative at Al-Quds University in Palestine. She received her MD degree from Al-Quds University, Palestine before moving to the United States. She has been actively involved in clinical research both in Palestine and the United States, studying cognitive, genetic, and neural correlates of various neuropsychiatric disorders in patients and animal models. Her current research primarily focuses on studying neurodevelopmental disorders in children. In particular, she studies decision-making processes in patients and animal models with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Dr. Natsha established the Palestinian Women Mental Health Initiative at the PNI to support research on mood disorders among Palestinian women and develop health education programs in the West Bank to reduce stigma and raise the public awareness of mental health. In 2012, she was awarded the prestigious postdoctoral fellowship from the International Brain Research Organization. In 2013, she received the Dr. Rania Ramadan Young Arab Neuroscientist Award. And in 2015, she received Al-Ashwal Award for Outstanding Neuroscience in the Middle East and North Africa region. Welcome, Dr. Next we have Najat Saloom. Najat Saloom is a licensed clinical social worker, licensed in the state of New Jersey, currently working in the Arab American Mental Health Clinician at the Mental Health Association in Passaic County. She earned her BA in psychology at Montclair State University. Before entering her graduate studies, she worked as a behavioral therapist with students diagnosed with autism at Virginia Sawtelle Learning Center for over 10 years. In the following years, while volunteering with the MHAPC, she co-founded Tanweer, the Arab American Community Center, and was the executive director for 3 years. Sorry, that sounds like a little bad. She's co-authored 2 chapters on community-based prevention and mental health. She's collaborated with the Elizabeth M. Boggs Center at UMDNJ Robert Wood Johnson Medical School on planning and presenting for the first Arab American Communities with Disabilities Conference in New Jersey of 2011. She regularly conducts on working with the Arab Muslim American community, cultural competency, and mental health. Welcome, Najat. Lastly, we have Ahlam Yassin. Ahlam Yassin is a 24/7 on-call mother, educator, grad student, freelance writer, and editor. She works to infuse a political narrative of social justice throughout her work in the classroom, writing, and graduate studies. She's currently a high school history teacher and a proud founder and coach of Rising Star Academy's High School of Debate team. In her spare time, Ahlam is pursuing her master's degree in educational leadership. Welcome, Ahlam. MashaAllah, we have a very inspiring panel. So let's start with the first question. Do you guys have a preference where you'd like to start? Okay, so the first question for you ladies. What challenges do women still face in today's society?
My question would be, what challenges do we not face, right? So, to narrow it down a bit, 2 points that stood out to me is this kind of narrow focus on women in terms of appearance, right? What do you wear? What do you not wear? As a Muslim woman, I'm constantly being judged on my hijab. So my hijab is no longer a symbol of religious freedom, but it has become somewhat of a political symbol, right? So when I wear my hijab, immediately society is saying, okay, this is this political individual, as opposed to it being a free choice of my religious identity. Some of you may have seen the social experiment that went viral over the summertime of this young woman wearing jeans and a t-shirt walking around New York, and all of the catcalling and the stares and the harassment that she received just from walking, you know. She wasn't wearing anything special. And you know, I had this conversation with my high school students, and they're like, and some of the boys actually were like, you know, we didn't recognize, or we had no idea that women actually had to deal with this, right? Even though she wasn't, you know, she wasn't anything special. She was wearing just the jeans and a t-shirt, and yet she wasn't able to walk, you know, with confidence on her own throughout the streets. So it's a matter of society judging us based on what we are wearing, right? Whether you're a hijabi or not hijabi, how you decide to walk out of the door will bring judgment, regardless of what you are wearing. So that is one challenge that, you know, kind of stood out in my mind. Another challenge that I faced, you know, with my personality, those who have known me, is this expectation for women to be this kind of ball of sunshine, right? We're expected to be those who carry around happiness, right? Or, you know, walk around always with a smile on our face. But for those of us who, you know, are happy people, but, you know, we don't necessarily always walk around with, you know, a happy-go-lucky, you know, expression. So that, in terms of like, we are immediately labeled. Oh my God, she's so mean. Oh my God, she's so this, she's so that. Without taking the time to really get to know a woman. Whereas, you know, men are not under that microscope of, you've never heard somebody say, oh my God, he's always walking around with a frown on his face, right? That's just expected of men, right? That's what's required of men. But for a woman, the expectation of being that energy of happiness and smiles is kind of, you know, a weight that, you know, many of us who are not, you know, balls of sunshine, kind of carry around with us. So I think that's what I'm throwing out there in terms of challenges.
Well, I think everything she said, of course, I agree with, but I think one thing I'd like to mention is that the status of women has changed in the past 30 years. We've come a long way, and before we start, you know, talking about the challenges we still face today, that we continue to face today, I think it's important to acknowledge that it took women to get us to this point. So 30 years of this constant battle for equality and being treated in a respectable way. But with all that said, and all the challenges that that was just addressed, I'd like to mention, or at least throw out something a little bit different, and it's partly because of the work I do. So I'm dealing with different professionals here, but from where I'm sitting, I'm always dealing with social issues, mental health issues, and I see a lot of women in my field. And one new perspective, I'd like to call it, is the denial of self. And you're probably all going, what do you mean, denial of self? So, women, just like you were saying, are expected to be that ball. We're using this as an example, of course, that ball of energy or happiness or whatever. But in reality, women are constantly carrying along this guilt, fear, and it's always because there's the denial of self. And there's nothing selfish about it. In reality, women who take care of themselves tend to be more productive, happier individuals, and have healthier interpersonal relationships. So just kind of piggybacking on everything you said, because everything you talked about, I think, is absolutely on target as a challenge for women. بالعربي يما والله أنا فكرت كله بالإنجليزي لا بدكش أعيد كل شيء اللي حكيته.
I think just like telling them about the self-care.
Okay, so الفكرة أنا راح أخبص هلا.
I think everybody
She'll translate الفلسطينية اللي جاي جديد. So
everybody.
okay, so the bottom line is, you know, caring for yourself, because if you care for yourself, it's not selfish. ما فيش فيها أنانية يعني إنه الوحدة تدير بالها على حالها. And I'm not talking about تروح تشتري أواعي ولا خاتم ولا. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your inner self. Like take care of yourself, your needs, and your rights. I think understanding their rights. حقوق المرأة. You know, أنا كتير اللي بعاني فيهم بالشغل إنه a lot of these women ما بيعرفوا حقوقهم. انسي كل إشي تاني بس الحقوق. You know, so that's a real, you know, a perspective that I'd like to look at, a little bit different than what we know when we're talking about the challenges women face, whether it's low pay, you know, or the expectation of being this person who's going to take care of everything and everybody, the sexual harassment that goes on at work, on the street, wherever you go, and in the media, how we're presented in the media, you know, we're always represented in a sexual way. So this new perspective of looking at yourself and understanding yourself and your needs and your rights, that's one of the challenges that I find very empowering at this time for women in this new movement. You know, it's almost like they're saying there's I think a third wave of women's activists and women's rights.
Okay,
I'm
I'm gonna
gonna
mix Arabic and English. So أول شيء I want to comment on what you're saying. بس أربطها بفكرة كنت بدي أحكيها how women are overwhelmed with what's asked for them. بالعربي المجتمع دائما بيتوقع أشياء كثيرة من الومن، يعني بيتوقع تكون بيتوقع يكون منتجة على المستوى العملي، بتعمل شغلها زي ما بدها،